3K carry player.
Yeah, more like 2.8 to 3K. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, it said 2.9. I was just, rounding up. Kind of like with
yeah,
height,
yeah,
you add a few
yeah,
inches or whatever.
A few moments later.
I think this is the
yeah,
most
yeah.
time I've spent analyzing one game, to be honest with you. I
That's
think all of it was pretty good, though. I don't think I bullshitted you at all here, so.
Banana slam jam.
Generally my first pick is Medusa, since I have more success with her and kind of feel more comfortable playing Medusa. Sometimes I do play Wraith King, like I tried a bunch of games with that new, well, not new, but meta Arma Deso build, and had some success with it. And also tried, obviously, the recent Shadow Fiend right click build and had some success with that as well. And I like sometimes playing Drow, especially now with the new Drow Arcana. But I would like to focus for now just on Medusa, just to kind of hone my Medusa skills in a way, because even though I feel most comfortable on Medusa and I feel like my best win rate is on Medusa, I'm sure I'm missing like a bunch of things and stuff. So I prepared a couple of replays we can go through if you agree with that.
Yeah, so did you only want to do Medusa today, is what you're saying? Or you wanted to start off with Medusa?
Yeah, I think we can just start with, let's say, a win and then a loss, if that's okay.
Let's check it out. So it sounds like you play a decent amount of Dota. How much do you play?
It depends, like 3-4 hours a day, something like that. At most, sometimes 2 hours a day. Depends in the week.
Okay, so it's still a pretty decent amount, all things considered.
Yeah.
Let's see. So both these games, you are Medusa, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So my question is, starting items. Like, what do you think of when you think of Nature's Prophet?
That's actually a good question about starting items. So I feel myself not to be that smart in considering. So one thing I learned about Dota is basically muscle memory is king, right? So no matter what, muscle memory is king. Meaning, if you can do something like without thinking, that's better. So let's say that I configure my starting items every game differently. Then basically, I'm going to probably mess up something. Like I'm going to have some item that I don't usually have, or some item that I don't have, and then I forget about it. So I found that this set of starting items pretty much works for any game. And even though stick is not actually good in every starting item, if I don't have the stick, then I'll be in a situation where I'm used to do things in a certain way, like let's say bait the enemy into going on me, and then I pop a stick and then I turn and stuff. But then if I don't have the stick, then I'll just forget I don't have the stick, because again, I'm not smart enough to think of the game that way, and then I'll just die, and then my game will be ruined. So basically, I consider myself wasting the 200 gold as a good thing, because it's just going to help me think about the other million things that you need to think about Dota, instead of thinking, do I have the stick, do I not have the stick? Just adding that as one of the things that I need to think about. So
do you think you're supposed to eventually think about that? Do you think you'll never get to a point
yeah,
where you have to think about that? Like,
yeah,
what's the deal with
definitely.
this?
I'll definitely do that. But also like to think of just focusing on other aspects, and then when I master those, then I'll be more like, okay, so every game, let's see if I need to buy a stick or not, and so on, that kind of stuff.
Okay, I
That's
mean,
my
if you
thoughts on
would
that.
prefer, are you basically telling me you'd prefer to not talk about starting items and laning items
No.
for this
We
game?
can talk about starting items. I'm just saying that generally, I like a layout. I like things to be the same. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean
So,
that's just a mentality that I can understand, but it caps out pretty hard at some point.
right.
That's really all there is to it. I've kind of known that in Dota, especially, but this is kind of a life lesson too.
Mm-hmm.
That if you know something can be better, and you kind of just don't try to get better at it, what ends up happening is you're either always going to be bad at it, or
Mm-hmm.
you'll eventually have to do way more work getting better at it because you've become complacent at it over time.
Okay.
So that's like my philosophy on a lot of things. I've realized over time, especially in Dota, that there were several items I never really bought. There were a lot of mechanics I didn't really utilize because I kind of just figured like I don't really need these right now. And
Right.
then I didn't really realize until later how much that was hindering me
Mm-hmm.
in like various scenarios where it would have just been helpful. So my only advice
Mm-hmm.
here is that if you feel like you're really working hard on like something else, then this is like a fine mentality to like postpone. Obviously, you don't want to overload yourself
Mm-hmm.
with things to think about because you will just crumble. But I think personally, if you're spamming like two or three heroes that starting to customize your items based on opponent heroes is like a really important aspect. You know, if you're like, if I think if somebody's on their first like 10 to 25 games of a hero, I totally think it's fine to just copy paste items because, you know, you're so worried about simply playing the hero itself. So, you know, like the main message I'm getting at here is isolating things to work on. So, you know, what I'll do, I hear your mentality. What I'm going to do through this coaching session is give you things to work on one thing at a time. So, you know, when it comes to itemization, I think this is a really important one. You know, it should be something that if you're playing a hero a lot, it'd be really good to work on slowly but surely. So what my goal for you when I talk about items, I'm going to try to keep it at like a digestible level as much as possible, you know, so that you can take it from this coaching session and apply it in your games. So, you know, I'm going to write some stuff down for myself because I think this would probably be a good video for people in your position. So like when we're considering starting items, we want to consider, I'd say sustain is really important. How much harass do we think we're going to take? I would say last hitting damage is really important. Last hitting damage and how important it is. And then I would also consider how important is like positioning / kill threat in a lane. So what that means is that if you're against like a Slardar Snapfire, you know, I don't care. I don't give a shit about last hitting damage. I give a shit that they're gonna cookie on top of me and stun me, and then you know, I'll take a bunch of damage. And then like, you know, when it comes to like damage that I'm taking, we kind of combine the two things and say, is the damage I'm taking like harass wise avoidable? So, you know, I'll add a category here for like avoidable damage. So the 4 categories I have here are sustain / harass, like how much are you going to take, last hitting damage, positioning in lane, and then avoidable damage. So what I mean by avoidable damage is like if you're against Slardar, I use him as the key example. If he's point blank range, he's probably dealing, you know, a bash into a stun into another bash. You're probably taking like 400 damage. But if he's not right next to you, you're taking literally 0 damage. So if you compare that to something like a Vino or a Necro, you know, no matter really where you position, if you want to hit creeps, you're gonna take damage. They're gonna casually right click you from range. You know, Necro has his aura, Vino has poison sting, so you're gonna take damage. So these are the type of lanes where, you know, going like boots against Necro Vino doesn't really make any sense a lot of the time. Because you're just going to take damage. But if you're against Slardar, you may be able to consider boots to be like a sustain item. So the goal here is not to view like what boots do, which is 45 movement speed. It's to view what the opponent heroes do to you and how we can best mitigate that with items. So that's why you kind of come to these conclusions of like, do I need more armor? Do I need more damage? Do I need more move speed? Do I need more overall just HP regen? You know, if I'm against Necro or Veno and I'm a Battle Fury builder or a Mask of Madness builder like Faceless Void, in an ideal world, I'd probably like to get a Morbid Mask as soon as possible or a Ring of Health as soon as possible. You know, ideal world. But okay, long enough talk. I'm going to get into this real quick. So an indicator of Nature's Prophet is he has trees that are going to walk at you. There's really not much you can do about it. And he also has a ranged hero that does pretty good damage. If you combine Nature's Prophet with his trees, they hit for like 80 damage. So when it comes to Nature's Prophet, we talk about sustain. We're probably going to take a lot of harass if he's a good player. You know, he's going to send his trees at us. He's going to right-click us. A lot of harass over time. So I would consistently want to have tangos in my inventory. Last hitting damage, he does a shit ton of damage. 80 between him and his trees. Like, he's one of the highest last hitting damage offlaners in the game. Like, him, Underlord, stuff like that. So when I think of those heroes, I think I want damage items in my starting items, because otherwise it's going to be, like, impossible to CS. So, like, instead of stick plus fairy fire, I would have double slipper of agility here. Positioning, you know, kill threat. I don't really think this is a positioning-based lane. It's more so they're going to poke me down, and that's how I'm going to die, slowly but surely. And avoidable damage, I don't really think there is much, because it's going to be 2 ranged heroes, and one of them is a Nature's Prophet. So the name of this lane is Armor, since Nature's Prophet is 100% physical damage. and then sustain. So last hitting damage, armor, sustain. So I'm thinking like probably going to buy 2 or 3 sets of tangos over the course of this lane. I'm going to buy a Wraith Band because that's like last hitting and armor, and I'm going to start the game with damage. You know, all these things combined is what gets me to the starting items that I have. You know, so I have these written down. I highly recommend you write the 4 categories down. It's just stuff to simplify for you. But, you know, we've had a long discussion on just starting items. Let's, you know, starting items are like the tip of the iceberg when it comes to itemization. Because all you have to do is think about one hero on the enemy team who's level 1. Or 2 heroes, I guess. So we have to think about 2 heroes that are level 1, and we have to gauge what items we're supposed to buy against these 2 heroes. So it turns out you might even be against a Wraith King. Which, after all that fucking talk, it is what it is. So you're actually against Wraith King. I mean, similar idea, but he's got a stun and you're against Mirana. So I would have bought the same items, assuming it's a Nature's Prophet. But then, after I see that it's like Wraith King plus Mirana, I probably would have queued up like a wand and probably early boots, just to like try to dodge getting chain stunned. But, okay, so let's play out the lane. Okay.
That was kind of risky. I took damage.
Yeah,
for
that
it.
was pretty stupid to go for that range creep, but
Yeah.
you did it. You knew it was risky, so it's up to you. You don't really casually aggro enough. You aggro, like, you clearly know what aggro is, and you clearly utilize it when the lane's in, like, a weird spot. But, I want you to realize that examples like this is, like, a perfect opportunity to pull to your range, because Wraith King's really low. And, also, dragging creeps away from ranged heroes, puts them out of position. So, if Mirana can right-click these creeps from here, it's, like, strictly better to make her right-click the creeps from here. So it's not like a necessary creep aggro in regards to like you're gonna die if you don't do it, but it's like a simply good, you know, put the creep that they want low HP while they can't contest and force the ranged hero to walk up further.
And so also move the equilibrium further to my tower, right?
Yes, exactly. It will also help pull the lane back. That's probably third consideration here, but it doesn't really matter as long as you know about all those considerations. That's fine. So where do you want the lane to be? Like
in front of my tower.
Okay. So what's really cool about this situation is that the lion pulled. You know, a lot of people in your bracket, they're petrified of pulling as supports, and also carries get really upset about pulling. How do you feel about this pull?
Well, basically, I need to now take a bunch of damage because the lane is. If I static the lane in front of my tower, I'm going to get double waved. And if I don't, then I'm going to take damage anyway, and I need to kind of last hit under tower. So it's not really a good pull, right?
Why are you getting double waved if you don't pull it on your tower?
If I don't pull it to my no, sorry. So if I just let it pull under my tower, then it's fine. But I'm going to get.
I'm saying if you leave it outside of your tower, why are you getting double waved?
Well, if my lion pulls, then won't the other wave come? Right, in 30 seconds. Right, sorry, yeah.
So what I'm getting at here is that this is actually a fine pull. So the reason why it's a fine pull is because the only reason it's a bad pull is if like you're by yourself here and you're like dying to Wraith King Mirana because of it. But what he's actually doing is you're getting solo XP away from anything in the lane. You're not engaging heroes. And he's forcing them to like take damage because they're trying to get CS and shit. So your job as a carry is within your limits. You know, if you're going to die for it, obviously don't do it. But your job is to maintain lane equilibrium within your limits. You know, he's doing something. And even if this pull was bad, you know, I'm just asking you ahead of time if you do or don't like the pull. Even if this pull was bad, as long as we're living within the limits of our hero, we don't really care about adjusting to what they're doing. So what I'm getting at here is we have this creep wave here. That's your next creep wave. Their next creep wave is somewhere over here. And you've got the current creep wave of theirs right here. And they've got this creep wave. So there's I want to say a bajillion. There's like 3 or 4 different ways that this plays out. And based on this alone, I would say it's actually 2 based on where we're at right now. Because what I said that was really good was you moved your camera over here, which is really good. This is like really important. A lot of people, I have to tell them to literally look at this in the first place. So it seems like you actually know what you're supposed to look at. but you don't digest the information properly. So what I care about when your teammate pulls is where do you want the lane and what can you do to keep it there if possible. So all we need to know is how many of our creeps are going to live after the pull, right?
Right.
So the two things that can happen here is that Wraith King gets forced away like he does. Let me watch this scenario over here. And this happens where the creeps come back to lane. Or Wraith King could have been here while this creep died, and the creeps are now going to follow him over here. So if you think about it, in both scenarios, you have to know. So in this case, we know there's like a decision tree here. In this case, we know that the pull camp is not going to kill our wave. Like when you looked over here, from your perspective right now, we know that the pull camp is not going to kill this wave.
Right.
So if the pull camp was going to kill this wave, it's pretty simple. You pull your wave into tower and you CS into tower. Whatever, because that's how you kill your wave. Because you're trying to mirror this. You're trying to make whatever's happening to these 3 creeps exactly what happens to these 4 creeps. That's exactly what you're trying to do. So right now we see that that's not the case and that 3 ally creeps are going to live. So the thing about these type of situations is it requires a lot of analysis from me currently, and it requires a lot of thinking. But honestly, there's only like 4 outcomes. And if you know what to do in all 4 outcomes, then it's really simple. You just look at it and react. The difficulty is realizing there are 4 outcomes, exactly what you're supposed to do in all 4 of them, and learning that process. That's a tough one. But if you're consciously paying attention to it, I think this type of skill develops pretty quickly because, as long as you know that's how many answers there are, be ready for these scenarios, then, eventually you'll have that be muscle memory, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
So right here, we see, you looked over, great first step. Honestly, probably the hardest step to get. We see there's 3 creeps. So honestly, if you want to be like ultra high level, you can pull these creeps into your tower and let the tower do 1 creep worth of damage. Like you can pull the creeps to like right here, have the tower attack it 5 times, and then walk the creeps outside of tower range again. You can totally do that. It's not possible to do that like dragging them past the tower. You also don't want to drag them past the tower, because if you drag them to this wave, like where these 4 creeps are going to follow you over here, that's going to block this wave. That this wave is going to get stopped. And then the wave that they have over here is going to run into your tower. Okay?
Right.
So none of that's good. So you were earlier concerned that you were going to get double waved. That's like a possibility. So it's obviously what happened in the past was your teammate pulled, the creeps of yours died, and then you didn't drag these under tower, and then you got 8 creeps underneath your tower at some point.
Yeah.
And you died to that. So obviously that's one of the 4 outcomes. So what happens here is if these creeps do die, and you static this outside of the tower, that's incorrect. And the natural problem there is you didn't maintain lane equilibrium in the sense that you let it push into you too hard, which means you're now dealing with the consequences 8 creeps under your tower. But if these creeps don't die, like here, and we drag it into our tower, we can just play it out in a lane where we want it right in front of our tower. Suddenly we've got a double wave running forward here, which we don't want this either. So this is just equilibrium management where you can mess up one way or the other. It doesn't matter which one you do. It's going to have a negative effect, So the thing is that we're going to rewind to this moment right here. It's just the key moment where you looked like 3 seconds ago, where you looked at this camp and you saw what was going on. So what happens here is you can be monitoring this the whole time because this is the only thing that matters, by the way. The 2 things that matter to you are what's happening over here and trying to get these CS. And I think in terms of limiting yourself, you should worry about general mechanics over CSing. Because if you focus on the CSing, then you're going to continually skip out on general mechanics. If you work on general mechanics while trying to CS, your CS is going to short-term suffer, but long-term you'll learn the mechanics. They'll become second nature to you, and you'll be able to CS while thinking about them. Or you won't really think about them. So right now, we still don't know. So like while this is going on, perfect camera position's like right here. This is like perfect camera position if you can do it. But so like right now we see this and I'm like, oh shit. Even now, it's still not too late. Okay. It's like still not too late. Maybe it's not ideal, but it's still not too late. I would just walk these creeps to right here. You know, that would be absolutely reasonable. It wouldn't be perfect, but it's still better than what you did, right? So we're not going to do that. You're going to keep it underneath your own tower. You're even going to snake it. You're going to use mana and push the wave. And so these are just little things, right? And if the Wraith King had taken these 3 creeps... Okay, I'm going to play this out for you. I'm actually going to make a video out of this because what to do when you support single pulls. I feel like carry players just lose their fucking shit.
Yeah, that happens very often. I think.
Yeah, nobody knows what they're doing. It's fine. It's not just you. So match ID is 6318075363. 4 scenarios. We ran into one of them. One is your ID here, and it is at 3 minutes. So I will find other examples to complete this. But for your own sake to learn from, so you don't have to wait for this video, is that if he is, if he stays around and drags, you know, I want you to imagine this. Like, say the Wraith King takes these 3 creeps with him, right? Mm-hmm. He's got 2 options now, okay? So what his 2 options are, okay, you know what? I'm sorry. He's got 3 options because you guys are in such low bracket that he could do literally anything. It's hard to predict. In my bracket, it's very predictable. In yours, it's actually not because in my bracket, I know what's correct. In your bracket, the guy doesn't know what's correct, so he's going to do whatever the fuck. So his 3 options are to drag the 3 creeps that he's got with him back to here and, like, meet you. But that's one option. That's not a good option, but that's something he can do.
Right.
Because that means he's literally putting the lane right back where you want it, okay?
Yeah.
The other options are for him to drag these 3 creeps to right here.
To the next,
and static them in front of his tower, right? And the third option is that he's going to drag them over here, and whether it's on his own doing or whether or not it's the lion forcing him to, he's going to pull them under tower.
Oh.
Right? So if he does the first one, we're fucking chilling. It's like, thanks, man. You know, thanks for delivering me the creeps. The second thing, if he drags it and holds it outside a tower, that's the correct one because that's setting him up to have the lane near his tower. Right? So if he does that, I'm actually just going to ask you, you know, problem-solving critical thinking here. What do you think if you saw the Wraith King pick these 3 creeps up and drag them to here, what do you think you would want to do with these 3
I would like to drag them to that creep wave that we dragged so I can CS all both creep waves at the same time.
Exactly. And that is why you are 2.8K and you're trash. So we're now going to address your problem here. So what happens here is that is the literal worst option you can do, okay? So the reason why that's the literal worst option is because you are going to be tanking 4 creeps while you walk down the lane. One thing that's wrong with that. Secondly, you are now meeting him in an area that is outside of his tower, which is unideal because you're getting tanked 4 creeps and you're confronting him outside of his tower. And then thirdly, you're now outside of his tower and contesting him 8 creeps versus 4. That sounds real fucking ass, okay? So, not gonna lie to you, man, a lot of people do it, okay? This is the, you know, I insulted you jokingly there, but that's what a lot of people do because they think exactly what you do, where it's like, I'm gonna CS contest this guy. Well, it's like, he's got 8 creeps, you've got 4. So if the lane is going to be here, right? If he statics the lane outside of his tower, the lane is going to be here no matter what, correct?
Okay.
Like, no matter what you do, like, the lane is going to end up here. So there's 2 things that can happen if we ignore your option. One is that you keep these creeps outside a tower, okay? Right. And what that's going to do is he's going to use these 3 creeps to deny, like, 1 or 2 of his creeps back here, and you're going to use these 4 creeps to deny 1 or 2 creeps over here. Okay? So that's like a trade, you know? That doesn't seem like too bad of an option, right? It's not ideal, right? Okay. But it's not too bad of an option, right? So that's one option, is you're giving up 1 or 2 creeps, and he's also giving up 1 or 2 creeps. So that's like the conservative route. That's a route where it's like, I'm not happy about it, but this lane kind of sucks. So I'm okay with giving up 2 creeps if he also gives up 2 creeps. You know what I mean? So that's the conservative route. The other route is that if you want the lane to no longer be here anymore, the actual best route to do that is to get the lane shoved really hard into his tower. Okay. And so how do we do that? We drag the 4 creeps right here underneath the tower. We kill them as soon as possible. And then we go fight him up here with these 3 creeps and these 4 creeps.
So the exact opposite of what I said, right?
Exact opposite of what you said. Because what you said was it puts the lane in a bad spot, gives him more creeps, and it also puts you in peril.
Yeah.
So this route, it's either you're trading and completely avoiding conflict, or you're putting the lane in a bad spot, which is unavoidable, right? We talked about that. You can't do anything about it if he drags the creeps and puts them here. That's why it's like the correct play by his part. But if the lane's in a bad spot, let's at least give ourselves 7 creeps so that he can't really be aggressive because he'd be running through creeps, right? And then it also doesn't last very long in a bad spot because you're shoving it into his tower. So the tower is going to help rubber band the lane back to where you want it to be. So, yes, this is a really complicated scenario, but the fact is, I believe every carry player would probably gain like 500 MMR if they knew how to handle a single pull, okay? Like, it seems like such a small thing, but it's such a massive laning thing that most carry deaths and most massive mistakes carries make are when a support pulls. It really is sad, but it's how it is. And it doesn't mean supports are not supposed to pull. It means that carry players need to get better at Dota.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's make it so your supports can confidently support you correctly and not worry about you randomly feeding. So, long analysis, but you seem to be fine hearing the analysis. So let's fast forward here. So you've got a lot of creeps now. This is an advantage. So this is general noob shit, okay? This is general noob shit. I talk about this, I did my Smurf lobby as Necro. Man, you guys are all so fucking bad. Okay, so the reason why I say that in such a nice way is because I can tell you, it wasn't a nice way. I can tell you that 90%, I don't want to say 90%, that's maybe a bit of an exaggeration. We'll say like over 50% of correct positioning in lane is based on how many creeps you have. That's why I do the creep warm-up thing at the start of the day. Because what it teaches you to do is it teaches you to like be in tune with what the creep wave is doing. Because that's all you're literally focusing on. I do the CS trainer warm-up every single day. I focus on which creeps are dying, which creeps are low, how many creeps I have, how many creeps they have. Is it slightly pushing? Is it slightly pushing towards me? And what that does is it puts me in Zen mode. You know why? Because all I have to do is know who has more creeps. Because if I know who has more creeps, then I'll position accordingly. If they have more creeps than I do, I position passively. If I have more creeps than they do, I position aggressively. So what are we going to see here? A classic 3K mistake that can be literally avoided by every fucking player in the world. It's so fucking obvious. You have 6 creeps. They have 3. Mirana fucking walks forward down the lane. What is this guy doing? Like, what is this positioning? Think about it, right? It's like, if you think about it purely from a lane equilibrium perspective, this is so fucking bad. It's like so bad, and it's so obvious, right? But like, if you don't think about the lane equilibrium, you guys just get caught with your pants down constantly. And like, when I was playing in that Smurf game, it was against about 3.5k players, I believe. I kept commenting as the Necro, I'm like, yeah, this Wraith King's like walking at me when I have 5 creeps and they have 3. The CM's like wrapping behind me aggressively when I have 5 creeps and they have 2. Like, what are they doing? And I just fought them and like literally traded 1 hero to 2. I out-traded them, I'm like, okay, like if they want to take bad trades, great. So, I mean, but all my decision about whether or not I'm trading is based on how many creeps I have.
So just a second, you'll be probably talking about this. Can you rewind like 10, 20 seconds, 15 seconds?
Sure, man.
So what's the correct decision, think? I think I did the wrong one here. So play it back and I'll tell you when to pause. No, a bit forward. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
The next replay. The one you were talking about. So
right here.
Right here, pause. Okay, so what's the correct action here? Kill off the creeps as fast as possible. So 3 options. First, kill off the creep as fast as possible. Second, kind of static it and just hit the Wraith King while the creeps are doing their thing aggressively. Or third option, which I did here, which probably is wrong, try to draw back the melee creeps to the range, so try to kind of deny the range. But I don't think that's really Is it correct really or not? Probably not.
Okay,
right?
so here's what
That's
happens,
I tried
right?
to do.
So you tried to do it, right?
Right, but
So no. So you're
too
you're
fast
coming to
or
me.
something.
I want to tell you right now that if you're coming to me with that level of analysis of this situation, you've got a bright future ahead of you because that's important. Everything I tell you in Dota, really at the highest level, there's like 3 or 4 choices. Really, like similar spot to what we talked about with the poll cam. It's the same fucking shit here, right? You just listed off a few options that you have, and I'll tell you that each option has like if and statement. It's like if this is the case, I'll do that. So the thing is that right now, if possible, if the lane is pushing away from you, like it is right now, what do you think sounds like the best option?
Hit the Red King.
Okay, sorry. So let me reword it this way. Wouldn't you fix the lane equilibrium if you could?
Yeah, exactly.
So the best option would be what?
Pull the creeps as much as possible back so they can attack the range creeps.
Okay, so that is, in an ideal world, the best option.
Right.
So why would that option not work?
The range are kind of killing the creeps too fast. So
there's too many of your creeps, my friend.
There's
too many creeps. So what I'm telling you is there's no perfect number to this, but if you have probably 1 more creep than they do, or like half a creep more than they do, that option's going to work. Okay?
Right.
But when you have 6, and 2 of those are range creeps, and they have 4, it ain't going to fucking work. Okay? Like, it ain't going to work. Look, you tried to pull it back, and things died, right? Like, they literally aren't killing your range creeps fast enough. Like, you're not even able to get them to your range creeps fast enough. So in this spot, you took one of the options, and that option, which is the best one, ain't going to work. So let's rewind to the situation we were in. You'll learn this kind of stuff. As long as you know the 3 options, and you learn what makes each one not work, then you'll slowly figure it out. So right now, we know that I always trickle down through the best options. Best option was that one. I know in my head it ain't going to work. This is a feels thing, though. It's like there's no exact science to how many creeps there need to be. It's like I've literally gone for that play, and it hasn't worked, because I'll have 4 creeps, and they'll have 2.5, and I think I can deny the range. And the range lives at like 60% health. I'm like, fuck, it's like really close. In your case, it wasn't even fucking close. But like in my games, like if I mess it up, it'll be close, but I still mess it up. So it's still like a judgment call that you're constantly gonna have to make. So that's the first option. The second option is to shove the wave as fast as possible. Now, if you shove the wave as fast as possible, what are you accomplishing? Now, for the sake of the coaching session, I'm gonna say, because I don't want to, take your time trying to figure this out with you. What you're accomplishing is that the lane is not together for very long, which means that you're also ramming it into their tower. So if you shove this as fast as possible, your timer to get it into their tower would be like 13 seconds, because that's when the next creep wave gets here. Okay? So what is that accomplishing, though? The lane is being shoved into their tower, and you're limiting the amount of time that you're here. It's avoiding interaction with the opponent team. Like, you literally say, I don't want to lane against these fucks, So, like, if you're scared of the lane that you're against, you're like, man, even if I have 6 creeps and they have 0, they could just walk up and stun me and kill me. That sucks. It's like, okay, if that's the case, then you fucking ram that lane into their tower, right? Because we want to avoid interaction. But if you are in a lane where, you don't want the lane at their tower, of course, but like right now it's going there. It's going there no matter what you do. So, if the first option, which was drag to your range, that fixes the lane equilibrium. So if that ain't gonna work, if that option ain't gonna work, we've dropped the option of fixing the lane equilibrium. That one's gone. Okay, so now we need to consider, do we ram it into their tower, or do we just play with it? Do we just play with the fact that the lane's pushing? And so, like I said, the first one avoids interaction. The second one is like, okay, the lane's pushing, but like, let's just play aggressive because we have more creeps than they do. Okay, so in this case, because I don't think you're that scared of their lane, they're not really going to kill you full to 0 or anything like that. I would position myself pretty aggressively. I'd probably position myself like right over here. Okay. And I would be CSing the creeps and hitting the Wraith King between. That's what I would be doing. And then what that's going to do is if he tries to fight you, like a lot of 3Ks might do. He's going to take more damage than you do.
Yeah.
He's got 6 creeps coming into his tower, coming in hot, and he's going to be at low HP, potentially diveable, you know? Even as a Medusa. You know, Medusa's not the best, like, diving hero, but it's possible. So, yes. You know, what happens here is you end up having to nuke just for a range creep, which isn't ideal, right? Because you're in control of the lane right now. So you were trying to fix it, and, you know, it was nice of Mirana to just die here. Very nice of her. So, like, right now, I want you to keep laning. So we're going to walk forward. You're going to hit the Wraith King a lot. Good. You can even walk a position. Dude, I'm telling you right now, man, I need you to think about this. Mirana's dead for 8 seconds. How scary is this Wraith King? Scale of 1 to 10.
0.
Literally fucking 0. You're full HP, 4 fucking tangos. You literally A-click this motherfucker, dude. I don't care how much aggro you're taking. As long as you're not missing this CS, you A-click this motherfucker. Like, you literally just right-click him for the next 8 seconds straight, dude. I'm telling you, like, make him walk all the way into his fucking tower. Like, because the only thing that stops people, theoretically, doesn't matter what position you're playing, from right-clicking the opponent is the fear that they instill in you that if you do it, they're going to kill you, or they'll out-trade you, right? So you're in a spot where you're 2v1, you're higher level than he is, and you've also got slightly more creeps than they do, you know? And you've also got reinforcements coming. So, with that in mind, this is like, he's literally a 0. You said it. He doesn't threaten you at all. And that's why we right-click this motherfucker. You know, like, walk forward. Don't stop here. Walk literally all the way to here. Your range is however far your hero attacks from this creep. And a lot of people at the super high level, if they're thinking, I want to be aggressive, but I don't want to miss this creep right here, what they're going to do is they're going to A-click the Wraith King, and that creep's going to follow him. Okay? Right. So instead of, like, having that creep be a limiting factor for you, bring it with you, you know? So, like, that's the thing. That's an example of aggressive creep aggro. And the beauty is Lion's actually making a really good play right here. You know, I don't know if you're... like, if this happens very often in your bracket, but the lane's pushing and the Lion's going to pull the hard camp. That's really good, actually. So the reason why it's so important that you're hyper-aggressive right now is because 8 seconds from now, theoretically possible, there are 4 positions respawning, full health, full mana, and they're going to be able to potentially contest you, you know? So right now, you're setting up a position where if your Lion wasn't pulling, there's going to be 7 creeps underneath the enemy tower, okay? Which means that if, in an ideal world, you wouldn't give that to Wraith King for free. You wouldn't be like, hey man, here's 7 creeps, like, I can't be aggressive on you, your Mirana's respawning. Also, in an ideal world, if you pull the hard camp, you want to farm it, not them, right? So either way, you're setting up for a position in the lane that requires you to confront them if you want to get max resources out of it. You know, you want to get the creeps, you don't want to give them free creeps. So whenever that's happening in Dota, we need to be as aggressive prior to that situation as possible, such that when the situation itself happens, we just get it all. You know, it's like, oh, he gets no creeps under tower. Oh, I get to farm the hard camp by myself. So, like, in this case, since the Lion's pulling, you know, there's like, every situation I talk about has iterations, right? It's like if the lane's shoving into him and the 4 is respawning, this happens at least once every 4 games. You know, this happens a pretty good amount. You know, you kill their 4 position, the lane's pushing because you killed them, and the 2 ways to capitalize on it are to shove the lane into their tower with 7 creeps and try to dive them, or pull. Those are literally the only 2 options. So sometimes neither option's available, meaning the pull camp's blocked and you're not strong enough to dive them. So in that case, it's like, well, okay, nothing I can do here. You know, that's it. But if we can utilize one of these 2 examples, man, that feels fucking good. So right now, you know, missed out on a little bit of aggression, but you are pushing the lane. Perfectly fine with that. You're going to walk over and... okay. So, how do you feel about this decision?
Yeah, this was bad. This was...
Why was it bad?
Well, Mirana just respawned, but basically I should have just hit the hard camp and farmed it as fast as possible and run away from... Basically, I forgot about the Mirana respawn timer. I didn't look at the
Of course, you know. So the thing about Dota is there's little timings here and there, and it applies at every stage of the game. 30 minutes in, 4 minutes in. And the beauty of the laning stage is if you can understand timings, man, like, if you don't understand them right now, you ain't gonna fucking understand them at 30 minutes. Because right now, you're 2v2. There's literally 4 heroes in the game, you know? We talk about, like, permutations and shit. We include items. We include 10 heroes into the game. We include who has how many deaths, who's what level. That's like a bajillion different things that could happen, you know? Like at 4 minutes into the game, it's 2v2. People are like, have glove of haste and a wand, you know? That's it. So there's only like 5 things to really consider right now. It's like, am I winning or losing the lane? And who's here? You know, like that's really it. It's like if Mirana leaves, be aggressive. If Mirana's dead, be aggressive. If Mirana's back, don't be aggressive. You know, it's like, where's the lane? Yeah. Either way, I've been talking a shit ton. But yeah, you learned your lesson. Your 2 options are to contest this guy and punish him here, or just farm the hard camp. And I would say on average, if the support pulls, you probably farm the hard camp. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's almost always correct. So in this case, you did the literally one combination between you and your lion that makes no sense. He pulls the hard camp, and then you don't go farm it, and I believe they might get it. Nobody gets it, but they 2/3 the XP there because you walked away.
Right.
So this is a perfect example. Now, you know, we're just going over a bajillion things that happen in lane. This happens a lot, okay? So, the thing is that your lane mechanics, I'd say, were decent, okay? Meaning, like, when the lane itself was pretty normal, you know, creeps were meeting each other, no pulling was happening, no killing was happening. I'd say your laning mechanics were relatively fine. And so, we've now run into a spot for, like, a minute and a half. The lane has not been normal, only because of one single pull from Lion, okay?
Right.
And the thing is, you have consistently made the wrong play, so we are consistently in a situation where we could fix it, okay? But we're just not. So, what we're getting at here is we're in another spot. This lane, these creeps over here are dying. We've now separated the lane, right? This happens again. So, in hindsight 2020, you see these 2 heroes over here with 2 creeps chasing after them. And these 4 creeps are meeting each other. What would you do?
Just pull the aggro.
Pull aggro to range. Fucking it's real easy. It's real fucking easy. Like, meaning like, that makes sense. Every time the opponent has to walk to me to contest, and it's possible, I drag to range. Every single time. You know, it's like, it's not fucking rocket science. The only heroes that I wouldn't necessarily do that against are ones with really long-range nukes that harass me. And I would say the main one is Legion Commander. I might not drag to range against Legion Commander, specifically. Just something to think about, because it's like, if they have a hero that can secure the range anyways, it doesn't really help to drag to the range. But, you know, that's for later. We'll worry about that way down the line. You see this situation happen, you drag to range. You know, like any situation that even remotely resembles this. So you tried, you know, just bad mechanics. Yeah, just bad mechanics there. So you'll get better if you keep focusing on it. Okay. What's going to happen in 2K if you do this correctly is all the offlaners you play against, they're going to be randomly like, where'd those 4 range creeps go over the first 5 minutes? Yeah. That's literally what they're going to think. They're going to be like, why am I level 3.5 instead of level 4 at 5 minutes? Like, what the fuck? They're not going to know. They're really not going to know. Okay, like, it's really funny, actually. So you drag to range, so you have a decent idea of when to do it. Okay, that's pretty good aggression. You don't know where Mirana is, so I understand why you're being a little bit passive here. Lion definitely overextended there. Nothing you can really do about that one. Yeah, so not that bad, though, because the lane's pushing away from you, so you have more creeps, and you're also keeping the Wraith King low. So this was like the opposite of the other scenario. We're trying to limit interaction there. So the really funny scenario about this... So right now, you shove the lane in, right? Remember how earlier when the Wraith King was by himself and Mirana was respawning? And I told you what you were supposed to do while Wraith King was alone? So the reason why this snake was really good is it keeps him off of you. Because we have the same concern that the Wraith King was supposed to have when the Mirana was dead, right? Like, in that case, you were supposed to just right-click the shit out of him. If they were going to look to kill you, it's going to be when it's 2v1.
Yeah.
Right? So, this was their one opportunity. So, by you, like, snaking this guy and putting him down to, like, 200 HP, it's really good for you. Because you've avoided the window that they could possibly capitalize. Right? So, right now, your Lion's respawning. You're level 5, this Wraith King's level 4. Let's fucking battle, bro. Like, what the fuck? You know, like, let's fuck this guy up. We've got 2 heroes. One of them's full HP coming back from base, and the other one's out-leveling the guy he's against, and the guy he's against has 200 HP. But, you know, we talk about interacting in Dota. It's like, do you want to fight enemy heroes, or do you not want to fight enemy heroes, right? So it's like, when Mirana was respawning, she was dead. You know, she's 8 seconds on her death timer. Wraith King's by himself. Fucking fight him, right? It's like, when you're by yourself, just get them away from you, right? Lion's dead. Get these guys away from me. You know, I don't want to fight these guys. So your Snake accomplished that perfectly. So what I'm doing here is I'm playing like kind of chill until Lion comes back to life, right? So what if Lion TP's mid?
Then I need to play much more defensively. And...
Then you continue the defensive, you know, play. And what you did, where you walked over to the small camp, stacked it, and tried to farm it, makes sense to me. Okay? Lion's back. We're out-leveling this Wraith King. Let's fuck him up!
Right.
Instead, we're just, like, taking 400 damage from a small camp, while a 400 or 260 HP Wraith King with no fucking items free farms.
Okay.
Think about this to yourself, man.
Yeah.
Why are you not confronting him? You can't possibly think stacking this camp and taking 400 damage to it because it's a triple stack is better than free farming against this guy in lane. Right? So, seems like you don't evaluate death timers very well and thinking about power spikes in lane. So, I want you to think like really hard about who's stronger than who at any given moment. Like, just ask yourself that in the lane. Okay? It may distract you for a little while. You could probably play the next like 50 to 100 games. And as long as you're playing the same hero, it'll help you a lot, okay? You're playing like Medusa, you're playing Wraith King Drow, doesn't matter which one. You know, if you want to rotate between them because they're comfort zone heroes for you, that's fine. But consciously assessing who is stronger. And, you know, throughout this session, I've talked to you about like a bunch of factors that lead to who's stronger. Levels of heroes, items that they have, you know, who has how much HP. The biggest one was how many creeps there are. You know, the creeps thing matters more and more the earlier in the game you go, right? Because the creeps are the same strength throughout pretty much the entire course of the game. And heroes get much more powerful with time. So in the early game, the creep decision matters way more. You know, you're level 1 or 2, I would say lane equilibrium's like 95% of what you're doing, okay? It's like once you're this point in the game, I'd say it's like 40-50% of like what you're doing rather than that much because we have to consider all these other things. So yeah, just ask yourself who's stronger than who, you know, and reference this ridiculously detailed analysis of your laning stage as like a, you know, use it as a reference is what I was trying to say here. So yeah, just realize that you're level 5, almost full HP with sustain going and treads. You know, let's look at the net worth. You are 600 net worth above Wraith King. You're also a level ahead of him. He was 200 HP, and you let him lane. Man, that's like fucking atrocious, actually, if you think about it. Like, the thing what I mean by atrocious is if the play was close, where I think you're like slightly stronger than him, you know, or there's like one factor that makes you stronger than him, then I would say, okay, you know, maybe your play was incorrect, but I see why you may have missed it, you know? But I'm literally glaring into like the most, like from a high MMR player's perspective of obvious situation where you are way fucking stronger than that guy. And if we're way stronger than people in the Dota game, we fight them. That means in the laning stage, we can test them. If that means in the late game, we fucking smoke into them or whatever, or we force an objective, you know, like we confront them. So this idea of like who's stronger than who, I think is a very misunderstood concept amongst the general Dota population. And if you could start applying it in lane, you'll start noticing how it helps you later on in the game as well. It's definitely not just you that does this. So, you know, when I say like in low MMRs, people give a lot more space to recover. That's like a perfect example. That level 4 Wraith King should literally be losing his tower to a catapult and like walking to base as the creeps die to tower. Like that's what should have happened to him there, honestly. But instead, you know, he got to recover a little bit, farm his creeps back up. He's level 5. He's laning. Okay, so you pushed in the lane. We're now at the spot where on Medusa, the ideal world, we just push in the lane and farm jungle. That's what you're doing. Okay. So right now, you have a nice ward in lane. You see 2 heroes top. This Wraith King has phase boots. Do you think you're incapable of farming this creep wave?
No, I'm capable.
Then go fucking farm it. Moving on. Okay, took the ultra long path around, missed an entire creep wave. Okay. So, how do you feel about interaction with the Wraith King now? Is Wraith King, are you powerful? Or how does he feel to you?
Yeah, he feels not that strong.
Okay. Well, so you showed up in lane. What are you trying to do right now?
Just farm as max efficiency, basically.
Okay, you're trying to max efficiency. Perfect.
Yeah.
So what does this Wraith King feel like to you?
Nuisance.
He's
like,
fucking annoying, for sure. He's a nuisance. Because at this stage in the game, as a carry, I'd say 99% of the time, as any hero that jungles efficiently, you know? It's different if you're playing like PA or anti-mage or something like that, right? And the reason why it matters is because if your hero jungles pretty slow, then if possible, you would prefer to shut down the opponent rather than accelerate yourself. You know what I mean? Because, like, you know, if I shove in the lane as PA and go jungle a hard camp, maybe I'll finish it every minute. Okay? Maybe I'm not even possible to push out the wave. But, like, as a hero like Medusa, if I push out the wave, I can go farm, like, 3 jungle camps a minute. You know? Like, that's fucking great. If I can do that at, like, 7-8 minutes into the game, that's, like, real efficient. So, on any hero like Medusa, as a perfect example, Drow and Wraith King, I'd say Wraith King is much like Medusa here. Drow, more like PA, but like somewhere in between. You know, these heroes, they benefit from shoving the wave because they want to go farm jungle camps. You know, it's just like earlier how we said, like, if the lane's shoving, we have 2 ways to capitalize on it, dive tower or pull hard camp. It's like at 8 minutes into the game, if you're stronger than them, you have 2 ways to capitalize on it. Fuck them up or push the lane and farm. You know, like that's the two options that you can do. And that all depends in this stage of the game how fast your hero farms. That's like all it depends on, because the faster your hero farms, the more likely we are to jungle. So like I asked you, you know, how are you feeling about this? You said the Wraith King's not all that strong, but then after I asked you a question a little bit differently, you said this guy's a fucking nuisance. You know, I asked you what you were trying to do in the game. That's like the first indication of your decision making. Like, what are you trying to do right now? Okay?
Right.
So what happens is people have all this information on their fucking screen. You know, I can literally point out 50 different things that this screen tells me right now, okay? Like, just looking purely at all the numbers and, you know, what's happening on the map and all that kind of shit. But if you can look at the game through the lens of what you're trying to do, okay, like, am I trying to farm? Am I trying to get to an item? Am I trying to defend a tower? Am I trying to take a tower? Like, what am I trying to do right now? And the beauty of Medusa is, like, 95% of the time, the answer to that question is you're trying to farm. So, you know, it's not that difficult in regards to knowing what you kind of are trying to do in the game. If we look at every single factor in the game through a lens of what we're trying to do right now, we've now adjusted what every single factor in the thing means to us. So what that means to us is every little enemy blop we see on the map, that tells us, I feel safer to farm right now. Every single hero that runs into us, how does this guy stop me from farming? You know, does this guy stop me? And if, you know, that's all we do. We consider it through this lens. So, you know, you said you're stronger than this guy, which I technically agree with, but it's not, you don't want to be here anymore. You know, like, fuck this guy. I don't want to be here anymore. In the other case, he was level 4, no HP, and you could have farmed a creep wave. That's not inconvenient to you at all, my friend, right? Like, you just go fucking W him, shove in the lane, and because you've got a catapult, maybe you push the tower. But either way, you're so much stronger than him that he literally does so little to you that you don't mind laning against him, right? Because every single second you lane against these guys is potentially stopping you from farming, right? That's like what we're getting at. So right now, I think you're still stronger than this guy, right? You've got 500 net worth on him and all that kind of shit. But now it's closer. You know, it's like he's level 6, the same level as you are. And here we see he's a nuisance. So we're just going to say, okay, I'm done interacting with this fucker, but I'm going to push out the lane. And that's going to be it. So anything other than shoving the lane and instantly leaving is wrong, which you did, good. But now the lane's shoving into you, actually. So what I would have done here is because the lane's actually shoving into you, what happened here is you protected yourself, right? With these creeps. That's what these creeps do. By shoving out the lane, it buys you time, right? The time that you're supposed to freely farm these camps, Wraith King's supposed to be over here, right? What happened? You know, unique scenario in Dota. What is the one thing that's telling us we can farm these creeps right here? I'm asking you.
The initial wave is
The wave is pushed,
in.
right? So if we're looking at your camera perspective, we know what you want to do. You're going to farm these two camps.
Yeah.
How long you have to do it is purely based on those creeps over there, right? That's all it is. So while during this, I would be looking at the lane because you've walked yourself over to the creep camp. Just look at the lane. What happened? Nature's Prophet ultied the wave. You know, how are you? You know, as a 2K player, do I expect you to adjust to that? You know, no. But I do want you in the future to know by pushing that lane, you protected yourself. So however long those creeps are alive is how long you have to farm these jungle camps, right? So if these creeps were alive for an extra 15 seconds, give or take, you're farming both these camps, you know? If the creeps are alive for like 5 seconds, you're farming just the small camp. If the creeps are just fucking dead, how many camps are you farming?
0.
0! That's it, right? So right that moment, I would walk over here, I would see this and go, oh shit, Nature's Prophet ultied the wave. And I'd like walk back to right here, preparing to farm the wave real quick. Okay? That's what I would do. Anything else is just like inefficient, right? Because we know what is allowing us to farm these jungle camps. That's what stems from this. So instead, we're like dealing with a stupid ass fucking Wraith King. Instead of pushing the wave, missed another lane creep, shoved the wave, auto attack, auto attack, auto attack. Could do this faster. Why are we denying creeps? Auto attack, auto attack, auto attack. Every single second we spin in lane, it's not hitting a jungle camp. Medusa clears a jungle camp in like 3 seconds. Every 3 seconds we spin in this lane is a jungle camp. Get the fuck out of here. Walk over to the small camp. Fuck. Okay, camp's gone. Okay, we see the lane. Now, this is a spot where... How do you feel about walking up to this lane right now?
I could do it, but, you know, it's kind of risky. It's more efficient to just take the jungle camp.
Okay, so you're saying the risk outweighs the reward.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I agree.
I probably should have flown myself more region because I'm kind of like 300 HP. You know.
What does that regen that you're flying yourself allow you to do?
Stay in lane longer, like be more aggressive, not try to just dodge every creep wave, every hero, and so on.
So when do you think you should buy regen?
Well, 30 seconds ago.
In general, yeah.
Yeah, when I'm feeling threatened, potentially getting dove by the enemy mid laner or something like that.
Yeah, so you feel threatened, but you also feel capable.
Right.
So that's the combination we're looking for. You feel like you're capable of playing this lane, but you also need more resources. Because, like, there's 2 options. One, you try to play the lane because you think you're capable, but you don't have the resources, so you die that way. And the other option is you buy regen items to go lane, but you're actually not able to lane no matter what regen you have, and then you feed anyway.
Right.
Those are like, both of those happen. All carry players do it, okay? Myself included. So all you need to know is that sweet spot of how much can I contest the lane? Like, what do I need to do it? And making sure I'm at that sweet spot, you know? All these things are just stages of the game things. I'm telling you as a carry player, 8 to 12 minutes into the game, that's exactly what I'm thinking about 95% of fucking games. Okay, none of this, like, it sounds like so much because I'm going through a Dota game, you know? Like, we're on, like, fast forward right now. We're not, like, you know, I'm in-depth analyzing, like, a fucking game, right? But it's, like, it's really digestible eventually, you know? If you just work on these things one at a time. So, you know, I want you to realize that theoretically, in an ideal world, you could work on these things one at a time, you know? It's just like, I could lift biceps, and then I could lift triceps, and then I could go legs, and then I could do abs. Theoretically, my body should be able to do that in one day. But no, you know, I'm going to be fucking dead. You know, I've only got so much power, like mental energy, physical energy in my body to do that. So, like, that's why one day you lift a certain part of your body, the other day, you know, right now I want you to work on the first 5 minutes, you know, first 6 minutes. So, who's stronger than who? That's what I want you to do. And then between 7 and 8 minutes, or sorry, 6 to 8 minutes or so, how do I interact with this guy? Am I bullying him away because I'm a hero like Drow or PA, or am I shoving the lane and farming? And all I have to do is think through that lens. And then at this moment, when I leave lane, 8 to 12 minutes, like after all that shit's been worked out, do I defend my tower? You know, and what do I need to do it? You know, and if like all the things we're discussing right now go into that. So, Dota game, you know, analogies. You left lane. I definitely think you could contest this lane based on what's happening in the game. But if you end up giving up the tower, it's not that bad. You actually do walk back to lane, so this is good. This is the I don't really want to lane, but I'm willing to help my support play. Meaning like you'd rather just jungle, but you know, in the meantime, if your support gets dove, you're down to help them. This is definitely a state of the game that happens, and I'm fine with you doing it here. So you're gonna come to lane real quick. Oh, look at the timer, look at the lanes, go push the lane real quick. You shouldn't need to learn that. That happens the same every time. If you look at the top middle, this thing will tell you 99% of what you need to know in the game.
Yeah.
So a little bit of an inefficiency there, cost you like 3 seconds, but it is what it is. Not going to lose your games. I mean, it's not good, you got to work on it, but ain't going to lose your games. So at this stage, we have the choice between walking all the way bottom for 1 creep wave or jungling. So right now, we have 2 options. 3 options. So I want you to realize that the time in the game that options happen. Let me actually ask you. When do you think, as a carry, most options happen?
And I think, what do you mean, like time of the game or what?
Yes,
phase of the
timer
game?
of the game.
Well, right now, I guess.
What is right
That
now
would
mean?
be so. Let's say I'm pretty sure I have like a lot of options right now when I'm strong enough to farm the jungle. I mean, I have enough damage to like just run through the jungle and farm every creep camp. But I can, you know, show up to dives. I can show up to defend towers. I can like TP to defend towers. But I should try to optimize my farming patterns.
I will ask you a simple question and interrupt you. Why do you have so much to do?
Well, I'm kind of one of the strongest heroes right now.
If you think of game mechanics, why is there so much for you to do right now? It's the
right now is the
fucking
time
minute
where-
mark, my friend. Every camp in the game
right,
has come back to life. There's endless possibilities. When
Right,
was the
at the
last
start of
time
the
we
game.
had serious analysis of what you did? Last time I critiqued you was right here, was it not?
Yeah.
Well, look at the timer.
Yeah, it's ending.
Yep. Next time we announce, like, dude, how hard is this part of the game? How hard was this 50 seconds?
Right, it wasn't hard.
This was fucking easy as shit. Like, let's be honest.
yeah.
You could literally be, I could teach my grandma to play that 50 seconds. All right?
Yeah.
Okay? She's 90 years old. I could literally teach her to play that 50 seconds. I'd be like, Grandma, I need you to A, click that guy, and then do the same thing on that guy, and the same thing on that guy. And if I trained her for like an hour, she'd be able to do it. All right? So, all the crucial decisions on carry, not all of them, the majority of the crucial decisions on carry are on the minute mark. So right now, the world is our fucking oyster. Our goal is to start and end minute marks in like not a dead end, right? That makes sense. You know, you don't want to be somewhere that you can't go anywhere from. What happens if you're in a dead end? You TP, you know?
Yeah.
That's kind of how it goes. And we want to avoid that if possible. We want to avoid hitting dead ends. So, what that means is we want to strongly consider right now where we would like to end our minute. So my question is, how often at 13 minutes do I want to end my minute at bottom tower?
Not often.
Not often, okay?
Yeah.
So the difference in the last case, where you ended your minute at 12, why was it okay to end your minute at 12 here?
Because then I farm backwards towards the safe areas of the jungle. So if I'm getting yanked or something, then, you know, they will miss me.
True. So what I see is what you're telling me is that bottom lane is dangerous, and if I can farm it and then get out, that's really good.
Right.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Right.
So, right now, you're considering whether or not you go to this next creep wave, right? Like, that's what you had time to consider.
Right.
So, like, because that's what we're considering, you know, ideal world, you'd be standing, like, right here. But if there's literally no heroes on the map showing, you shouldn't farm this creep wave, right?
Yeah.
Because theoretically, they could just be Murana ultied and 4-manning you right now.
Yeah.
But I'm starting the minute, I have a lion with me, and I see 2 enemy heroes on the map. We're fucking chilling. Go farm the creep wave. Great.
Right.
What I'm saying is we're fine to start our minute at 12, meaning we also ended our minute here, in a dangerous part of the map because we are given a specific reason that it's safe to be here. Okay? And every second of the game that we occupy a dangerous part of the map is a portion of the game that we get to free farm the small part, the safe parts of the map. Okay? Like, if you manage to take, like, 15, 20 seconds out of your minute as a carry to farm the dangerous parts of the map, that usually means for the next, like, 40 seconds of the minute, we just get to farm our way backwards, baby. Okay? Like, just farm it through our jungle. You know, hit it up. So we're going to fast forward real quick back to where we were. Farm dangerous farm, that bought us about 30 seconds to a minute every time we do that, okay? Every time we do that. So right now, it's 13:05. You know, we look at the map. Where's our team playing? Top. What's going on? We see Ember. That's it. So right now, we are at a crucial juncture. You know, it's pretty obvious you're going to farm this stack. That feels really natural. You stack the camp at the end of the minute. Pretty good efficiency there. You walked all the way through the jungle, farmed the stack. We've got 3 options. One of them is to walk towards top. One of them is to walk through our own jungle. And what do you think the third option actually is?
Wait to see until somebody shows.
True. What is the fourth option in terms of things to do? That's actually true, so I'm not going to say you're wrong there.
I mean, I guess I could tip it up and try to pressure that top tower and force them
Does
to come and
that
then
feel
back
good
away.
as a Medusa? Why does that feel good or bad?
I do have an ult and I do have my Kotal there. Who also
What are
pushes
you
all the way.
trying to do right now?
Farm.
Is there any farm right here?
No.
Let's just fucking ixnay that, man. We're trying to be natural. I'm not trying to teach you to be some like timing push. I'm a little bit stronger than the opponent. Let's force an objective kind of thing.
I have no idea what's the other option then.
Okay, so if one option's walking to the ancients, the other option's
Right.
walking through the jungle, where
Right.
else on the map right now is there farm?
I mean, mid lane is occupied. Bottom, I don't want to TP there. So I would
Why
need to-
not?
Because they could run at me like 3-4 heroes.
But is
and
that
then
an
I can-
option?
Yeah, okay, I guess there's an option, yeah.
What if that area is perfectly safe right now? Are you not literally repeating what you did from 12 to 13 minutes?
Right, yeah, I will do, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So what I'm saying here is the majority of players would never TP bottom if they saw 3 heroes top right now.
Right.
But it's not, if you see 3 heroes top right now, it's not okay to farm your way towards bottom. Because by the time you get to bottom, they could be 3 or 4 heroes there.
Right.
So what I'm getting at here is the natural farming rotations is super safe. A little bit more dangerous, but you plan to confront them here. That's what that tells me. You're going to end your minute in a place that you plan to confront them. Or, oh, quick opportunity. Farm this creep wave, farm back through the jungle.
So TP there and then farm it back, okay.
Yes. What I'm saying is those are all options.
Right.
I'm not saying which one you should do. So what I'm telling you is what these options imply. This is safe farm, which right now, since you know your limits, how fast are you going to farm these camps? Right? There's no stack. Storm already took this one.
This is just one ancient camp and, pretty much nothing
You're
else.
going to
Maybe,
finish that
there's-
around what, like 13:35?
Yeah.
What would be your natural progression at 13:35?
I mean, I would personally go top, clear that large camp, and unless Koto hasn't taken it, and then maybe...
What if he's already taken it?
Okay, then go bottom, I guess. Or then I can TP extra.
Well, then in that case, like, your only 2 options are to push top tower or to TP bottom.
Right.
So the reason why at that point we come to the conclusion that you would push a tower is because there's literally nothing to farm.
Right.
Which, to be honest with you, is pretty much all the times on a hero like Medusa that you're supposed to hit a tower. You know, the faster you clear jungle camps, meaning the more items you get and shit, the more time you'll have to do random things that are actually helpful to your team.
Right.
You know? So all I'm saying here is, we're taking the time to pause here 80% or more of your decisions as a carry in this stage of the game are going to be at the minute mark.
Yeah.
And the decision you make here is the only hard one you're going to make for the next 45 seconds. And I want you to know, if you walk to the Ancients based on the given game right now, this guy's farming this guy's farming this, you're going to end up pushing top tower at 14 minutes, most likely, you know? If you walk bottom right now, you're going to end up putting yourself in a dangerous lane at 14 minutes where ideally your team's fighting with you or the opponent team's not there.
Right.
If you TP bottom right now, because it is safe, meaning like, you know it's safe to TP bottom right now, you're going to farm this, and you're going to end up about right here. Right? So when it comes to these options, I'm going to choose the one that ends the best, if possible. Usually the one that ends the best is the one that starts the worst.
Right.
Does that make sense? That makes sense, right?
Because it's the most dangerous one.
Yes. So
safer.
that's why it is so important to farm aggressively at the start of a minute, if possible. You know?
Right.
Like, that is why in a lot of my coaching sessions, I say, how far up on the map, how dangerous of an area can you farm at the start of a minute? That is like the best question you could possibly ask yourself. So right now, if I felt safe, I would TP here. If not, dude, don't fucking TP here. I'm not telling you guys to, like, you know, do stupid shit. But like right now, based on the map, I don't feel safe. You know, I don't feel safe TPing there. You know? So I wouldn't TP there. But I also don't like the idea of walking bottom with the heroes that I have. And the reason why is if the fight occurs bottom, I want heroes that counter gank.
Okay.
Would you say that Storm, Bounty Hunter, Lion are counter gankers?
I mean, Storm and Lion can defend, definitely, but Bounty, no, not
Do
really.
these heroes prefer to counter gank or
No,
gank?
they like to initiate.
Okay. I mean, then the answer is like, maybe they could, but they don't want to.
Yeah,
Okay?
exactly. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is we don't feel safe to go bottom right now. So then the two options are we farm our way to bottom, which is kind of dangerous, or we farm our way to top, which is kind of dangerous. One is dangerous in the form of being on the other side of the map, of the opponent's side that we're invading. The other one is dangerous because we're putting ourselves in a dangerous spot on our side of the map. So at the highest level, that just comes down to what your team and their team do. You know, they've got very aggressive gankers as well. So their heroes want to play bottom.
Right.
While you've got aggressive gankers. So your heroes want to play top.
Right.
So it would be very bad to put ourselves in a dangerous area with the intent to put ourselves in jeopardy bottom. So I think it would be much better to farm towards Ancients right now. I wouldn't feel safe to walk bottom. This is a very high-level decision, but either way, it's not ideal. And the reason why we don't want to farm here is it's kind of a dead end. And the biggest thing here is what I want you to realize is that the opponent's creating pressure. It's really good to find a balance, okay? What I want you to realize is that passivity breeds passivity, okay? Every minute that you are overly passive is either an opportunity for the opponent to kill your teammates or an opportunity to invade you the next minute, okay? So what I'm getting at here is that during the last minute, we could have started aggressive by TPing bottom, or we could have ended aggressive by ending bottom or by ending top, right? Do you understand that?
Yeah.
What I mean? And as a carry, what you have effectively done is none of that. You have been entirely passive for the last minute. Look at the net worths.
Yeah,
that is not acceptable with these net worths. It is not acceptable. If you're the Ember right now, by all means, man, scrap for every fucking camp of farm you can get. Okay? Like, this farming pattern tells me you're the 6th highest net worth core in the game. What I'm getting at here is this is AFK farming. Like, this is like, I did literally nothing in the game except for jungling a camp. Like, that is what I did. The thing is that right now, what have we found ourselves doing at the end of every minute?
Farming the ancients here.
No, sorry. I'll say so far in this session, like the last
Ah.
minute or two, what have we found ourselves doing every minute?
Trying to decide where to farm.
And that is done by us looking at the map, looking at enemy heroes.
Right.
If we are overly passive, we will generally have no information to go off of. Okay? Look at the map right now. I don't fucking know.
We just see one hero. Yeah.
They could be ganking mid. They could be 3-manning bottom. They could be all jungling. They could be setting up a defense of the tower top. I have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
Why? Because you were passive for a minute. I guarantee you, if you show your face top and you nuke out that creep wave that's right here, in the next 5 seconds, you'll know exactly where they are. I guarantee you.
Right.
They'll either reveal themselves bottom because they feel pressured, they'll reveal themselves mid because they feel pressured, or you'll see somebody TP in your face top. You'll know exactly where they are. And that's why it's not okay to AFK farm. Okay?
Right.
And so in these games where I talk about to like these lower MMR carries especially, if you're the weak guy, sometimes your team's going to put you in the spot. Because if you're the weak guy, somebody on your team's supposed to do this. Okay? But the fact is, if you're 6,000 net worth and the highest net worth in the game at 14 minutes as a carry that clears waves, within reason, you can force the opponent to react. And that can sometimes literally just be nuke the creep wave, push it into their tower, and back off. Like that could be a form of forcing a reaction. And that is way better than what you've done here. I want you to realize that you've traded a medium camp right here and a large camp right here for any information.
Right.
And I want you to realize that that's not a good trade. I want you all to realize that right now, because of how much goes into your decision at the new minute mark, I want you to realize what you're giving up by not having that information. This information gives you gold, right? It gives you more area on the map to farm. It gives you towers. It gives you safe peace of mind. You know whether or not you're going to get ganked, okay? Because like you see what the opponent's doing to some extent. I just want you to see that. I know you end up winning this game and you end up like free farming, but these are the type of ways that you will solo win games where your team will have like no way to throw the game. Because like you've taken 2 or 3 towers by 20 minutes, your highest net worth in the game, you get an Aegis and the game's just fucking over, no matter how much your team's died, okay? This is a situation where if you farm like this every game, if your team starts feeding kills, you will lose. Okay. So we're going to start our minute mark passive again, which is unfortunate, meaning like, if possible, we want to avoid that. I understand what you're trying to do there. Got top tower, enemy team just gave it to us, that was very nice of them. So right now, we have 2 choices. So notice how what your 2 choices have been at the camp you started your minute at. After you finished that, you had a choice, right? Over here at 12 minutes, over here at 13 minutes. Yeah, it's 14:34, so it's not on the minute mark. But that's because something random happened. It happened over here. You like walked over, tried to help, whatever. You're now finishing the camp that you started at. So in hindsight 2020, we have 2 options here. If we farm this small camp, where are we going next?
I would ideally like to hit that mid tower, but if you just want to farm,
then it's mid tower. If you're going to that small camp, you're going to mid tower.
Yeah.
The other option is go to these camps.
Go top. Yeah.
Right? So, one option means I want an objective right now. Where will you end at 15 minutes if you go towards mid right now? Where are you going to end?
Well, I'll be pretty much here, so I can go either towards the ancients.
You're going to go right back to your ancients, aren't you?
Yeah,
like 100%. Dude. Like, there's no like.
Or I can go bottom and then ancients, because
you're going to go to your ancients. Like you're a Medusa player. It's what you're going to do.
Okay.
You know this. Like maybe a different hero would do something different, but you're going to walk back to your ancients. So what that means is at the 15-minute mark, you're going to start passive. Right. So what I'm getting at here is that if you start the 15-minute mark passive, because you hit this mid tower, that tells me that you thought that you could get enough done mid that you think it's worth starting your minute mark passive again. Which is fine. Meaning like that's like a reasonable decision in certain cases. Totally. And I'm not telling you right now which one's right or wrong. I'm telling you what the impact of this decision is, right? Every minute we get to make one decision usually. Okay. Other than like the random bullshit of like a fight that we show up to that's right next to us, in terms of where we put ourselves on the map, we usually decide every minute. And I would say that the better carry player you are, the more often you'll make the perfect play here. And oftentimes at my level, when you make the wrong play, you usually die. or you usually
Right.
give up a tower for free or something. So, like at my level, that's the consequence of one mistake every minute. So, what happens here is we just need to know the consequences. So, if we go mid, we're going to start our next minute passive. Would I consider it worth it to get a mid tower to start the next minute passive? Yeah, totally. So what that means is you think you're going to get enough out of pressuring this tower that it's worth starting your next minute passive. Totally.
Right.
That's literally what you're weighing. You're weighing the benefits towards the drawbacks of this play. But if we go top, we're going to get farm, and then we're going to end at 15 minutes, we're going to be like right here. Right? That's where we're going to be. And we're going to farm backwards, which means we started the minute aggressive and we're farming backwards, which will almost always be the best play efficiency-wise. I would say in your bracket, you could do that play every single time, okay? Like in your bracket, if you can look for the one that's going to end you on the aggressive part of the map in terms of farm pattern, do it, So in this case, the small camp ain't worth it because you're a hero that's limited by move speed, So don't walk all the way over here and then walk all the way back, just walk up. Even as an anti-mage, I probably still wouldn't go to that small camp. I personally would choose top, but by going mid, you're telling me you want to hit this mid tower. If you're doing anything, you're going into their ancients. Wow.
I remember actually this one. I think Milan said, come on Medusa, there's like a huge stack of ancients in their triangle. Let's take it. So, yeah.
I mean, this is how you guys fucking lose the game, but I respect it.
I took their ancient stack.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it worked.
Yeah.
I feel like that play single-handedly wins you the game. Meaning, if that goes well, there's, no recovering for the opponent because they just lost, 3 heroes in an ancient stack. But I also believe that in the current situation you are in, if you just farmed your own game, you'll win 100% of the time as well.
Yeah.
So it's it's kind of like going high ground without an Aegis and saying, if this works, we will win the game, but this is the one chance we have to lose the game. And I'll just say I usually avoid things that could lose the game. It's like, if I'm absolutely free farming as a Dusa, I get whatever the fuck I want on the map. You're not an invasive hero. It's like if I'm a hero that doesn't farm all that fast, like a Slark, man, I'm fucking running into those ancients. If possible. If I'm strong, I'm going to run into their ancients. But, as a Medusa, it's okay, I would probably rather play my own game. Just saying.
Yeah, I remember what triggered me to go there. I think I just felt, strong, and our team felt strong.
I'm saying that it's not, it's not a terrible play. I'm actually not even saying that. It obviously worked. I'm just telling you that's one of those plays that's, an unnecessary risk, how I would do it, at least. So you're going to push top lane and go back to ancients. This is fine. You're going to start your minute mark here. So we're going to work our way top. Please, just walk top. Don't join your team. This is so bad. Just walk top. Just be natural and farm. None of this is really necessary. Just walk top here. This is... You literally missed, 17 creeps and started yourself at the minute. Okay, I want you to realize, this is actually a concept I've never gone over in a coaching session until now. I've gone over, where to start your minute mark. I want you to understand not only how much gold you got out of this fight by showing up to it. I want you to understand that by going to this fight, you started your minute mark at 19 on your own side of the map again. If you had just walked top, pushed this lane in, farmed these 2 camps, and then walked towards this fight, you'd be starting your minute mark right here.
Right.
And you could still maybe show up to the fight. Right? So... This happens a lot. I want you and other players that are watching to start considering if you're strong, put yourself on the opponent's side of the map and then look for plays.
So basically, farm the camps and then show up to the fight late, going around, from the ancients area, going top, then right, then bottom, instead of just straight to the fight.
Prioritize putting yourself farming aggressively over showing up to fights. If you're strong, of course. If you're strong, right?
Yeah.
If you're losing, most of the fights you'll show up to are on your side of the map.
Right.
If you're winning, most of the fights you want to be on their side of the map. Which would mean you're walking from behind them.
Basically, after the camps are cleared, then join the fight.
I guarantee you that you
fight
probably
both
could
camps.
have walked top, cleared all 4 of these camps, and this fight would likely still be going on.
Yeah.
I guarantee it actually happens this way a lot. I guarantee you. And if it's not going on still, like, dude, you just got like 700 gold and you're ready to farm another 700 gold. You know, it's like, who cares? It's not even like it's bad if you don't end up showing up to this fight. But the thing is that I see about these fights is, sure, they're extending your net worth lead, but they're not actually ending the game. They're not progressing the game. I wouldn't have used Manta there since you intend to go that way anyways. I only use Manta to clear waves if my hero is not going that way. Notice how you walked this way, so I wouldn't have used Manta there. It's just unnecessary, you know. It's not a matter of, like, you gave up anything. It's just unnecessary.
Yeah, usually at this point of the game, I don't really spend my time in the opponent jungle and be on the offensive that much. I'm usually like more like in a defensive position because we're not really. As you saw, we just spent a full minute like there in the as a team in the jungle. That usually doesn't happen that often, but
yeah. So right now, you farmed ancients and you walk down. Let's see. Let's see what happened there.
like usually I would be here maybe, but alone. Like I wouldn't have like 2 other heroes with me.
Okay.
So whenever this happens, I'm kind of like worried something bad will happen because usually I'm alone and I'm farming. I know what's going to happen. You know, I see some heroes on the map. I know where I'm. But if there's a bunch of heroes, then I'm kind of like, okay, so my team wants to fight or something. I'm kind of like, need to think what to do. So it's kind of, I probably make some bad decision here. I don't know. We'll see. But,
okay.
You know,
I'm just letting you know
like
that
it's
we
too early
are.
for me to really fight. That's what I mean.
I'm just letting you know this is actually kind of awkward. We are about 5 to 10 minutes away from an hour and a half.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
Just letting you know, we've gone like insane depth of this game. I think it's been good personally, but you know, I just want to let you know. So I want to make sure I get some final notes in here about the thing about this game is it's going to apply to every single game that you have a decent start. Okay. So what we didn't really get to cover today was what happens when you have a really bad start. Okay. A lot of that will be opposite. You know, it's like instead of trying to force yourself aggressively onto your part of the map, it's like, how do I evade what's going on the map? So I want you to know right now that I've acknowledged that has not been covered today, but I know for a fact that we have fucking drilled the shit out of what you're supposed to do when you're winning. So this will apply to no matter what your lead is. You know, it could be 3K, it could be about an even game, but you're hitting a power spike. You know, it could be literally any form of an advantage. But I want you to realize something right now. Okay. It's 1945. What, after all of this session, do you think we should be thinking about right now at 1945?
How to position myself aggressively so that at the start of the minute I'm in the most aggressive part.
Setting yourself up for the next minute.
Yeah.
Right? So the thing is that here's an interesting question for you. Do you want to end the 20 to 21 minute mark on their side of the map or yours?
No, I want to end it.
I'm asking you in this specific game.
Cool. So let's see. I go here. I farm.
Let's ignore where you go. I'm asking, at the 21 minute mark, where do you want to be? Based on your items and timings and such.
Right. Good question. Well, I would want to actually be in their jungle top.
You would want to be on their side of the map.
Either the left or of the side or the right side, but basically of the outpost, but basically in that kind of.
What you're telling me is you want to be on their side of the map at 21 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So where does your farm need to start at 20 minutes?
Well, I can go like in a circle. So
no. Like, let's break it down. It's really simple. If you want to end on their side of the map and you clear camps like 1 every 2 seconds, where do you have to start to end on their side of the map?
At the same point, pretty much.
You have to start on your side of the map.
Okay.
I like. What do you like? You know, let's not overcomplicate it. It's like if you want to be on their side of the map after an entire minute, you know, I need to start on my side of the map because I'm a Medusa and I clear like fucking 4 camps every 10 seconds. Okay. So what I'm getting at here is this is high-level decision-making, but I'm bringing it to your attention for the sake of this
Okay.
session for ending it. If I look at my timings, this is a feeling that I've started developing in the last like year, is where do I want to be at the end of the next minute? Okay, this is just another factor to consider. This is like a bonus for the session. It's probably above your MMR level, no offense. It's something you can absolutely think about, though. Is look at your timings, right? You play a lot of Medusa. You're 1,200 gold off of an item. You know, at the end of the 21-minute mark, you're super fucking strong. You'll probably have your item flying out to you. You know, It seems like a lot of GPM, but honestly, getting 1,200 gold in a minute and 15 seconds on Medusa is not unheard of. You know, with how much farm space you have. So what that means is I'm thinking like, okay, 1945, you agreed with me. We're thinking, where are we putting ourselves for the next minute? Okay? The beauty of the situation top right now, I'm actually asking you, what are you trying to do in the game?
I guess farm as fast
You
as possible.
are trying to farm because you don't have your item yet and you're a farming carry. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
So you're trying to farm. How much farm is left where you currently are right now?
A few, very little camps. Like one or
There's
two
no camps. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Like, there's no camps. What is the only farm? It is literally this creep wave.
It's prepared.
Who's getting it?
Koto probably.
Koto's fucking getting the farm.
Yeah.
What is there that we could start on our side of the map right fucking
Extra
now?
TP bottom.
You could TP bottom. You could TP mid.
As much as possible.
I don't give a shit. Honestly, either one's correct. Like you could literally do whatever.
Yeah.
Honestly, either bottom or mid right now. As a carry
basically
player,
get away from my team.
if you are high enough level right now, meaning like high enough level, like high enough MMR to eventually recognize that I don't give a fuck about this Wraith King dude. This guy.
Right.
He's got 2 fucking lives. That's gonna take like 40 seconds to kill this fuck.
Yeah.
I could clear 900 GPM in fucking 40 seconds, dude.
Yeah.
I'm TPing mid or bottom right now. 100%. Fuck whatever this is. If you're ever good enough as a carry to look at this and say, fuck this, and TP bottom, you're a god. Honestly. Like, if you're able to do that. Your supports are going to ping you, and they're going to be like, why aren't you killing this fucking Wraith King? And it's like, well, I just farmed fucking 40 creeps in 1 minute. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, I literally just farmed this entire fucking wave right here. I cleared this camp, this wave, these 3 camps, and I ended my minimark right here with the Ags. You know, I'm on their side of the map, 21 innings in the game with an Ags. But I just got 1,200 gold in 75 seconds, dude. Okay?
Yeah.
You know, that's how you win fucking games. Is like, know what you're doing in the game, know where you want to be in the game, and hit your timings. Now, I know that's really high-level shit. I know I'm talking to a 2,900 MMR player. You know, I totally understand, man. I'm not trying to, like, be like, man, you should know this shit. You know, I didn't know this shit until probably a year ago, okay? So it's like, what's my excuse? It took me fucking 5 years of being 8K, and I'm still fucking 8K because I suck, you know, to realize this kind of stuff. You know, Dota's a high-level game, and all I'm trying to do today is give you tools of things that you can remember. So, wrapping up this session, just to, like, make sure we know what we want you to do, is laning stage. Who's stronger than who? Okay? This is like the main notes for the session. Who's stronger than who? Think about that to yourself. We talked about a bunch of factors that influence that, but if you're able to guess to yourself who you think's stronger, that'll help you a lot in the long run. 6 to 8 minutes. What are we doing with our advantage or disadvantage? Are we just farming? Are we shoving the guy out of lane? That's purely based on how fast our hero farms. Okay? 8 to 12 minutes. Are we defending our tower or not? That's 8 to 12 minutes. You know, same idea, but like we're starting to think like, you know, how much can we defend our tower while we're doing this farm? You know, 12 to 15 minutes. How can we, what part of the minute do we want to be aggressive on? Is it the end of the minute where we're like hitting a tower? Is it the start of the minute where we're quickly defending a tower and getting out? You know, is there something we can do for like 15 seconds of this minute that contributes to the game? You know, defending a tower, taking a tower, showing up to a fight, something like that, right? And if you can decide if that's at the start of the minute or the end of the minute, man, that feels fucking good. You're fucking owning. You're literally going to be a god, honestly. Like in your bracket, especially. And a lot of that's going to be on your own hero, right? Meaning you'll know based on the hero you're playing. It's like, man, I feel really fucking strong right now. I want to end on that top tower. It's like, man, I feel really fucking strong right now. I'm going to defend this bottom tower and get the fuck out. You know, it's like, you'll know that based on the hero you're playing. And then at this stage in the game, it's really continuing that mindset. But it's like, now that you're really fucking strong, let's not do things on the map that pin us on our own side of the map. I want you to notice all the random shit you've done, showing up to this fight, walking towards mid tower, mid wave here, that has prevented you from farming their side of the map.
Right.
Because what happens here is you are correct in the sense that you are supposed to be farming. So what happens is, if you wanted to be aggressive at 21 minutes because of your timings, if you start on their side of the map, this is what you naturally feel. You're here, and you're like, fuck, there's 3 camps over here. I'm going to go farm them.
Yeah.
And you are absolutely correct that you are supposed to have camps to farm for this entire minute. Okay? Because you are really strong, right? You are supposed to have these camps. That instinct that you have of how much you're supposed to be able to farm is probably going to be pretty accurate because you've played a lot of Medusa, okay? So all you need to consider now, moving forward, because you've already got the, like, how fast do I farm instinct going here. Where do I want to end? That's all it is. Where do I start and where do I end, right? And everything else in the game, if it's viewed through that lens, you know, if I want to start on my side of the map and end on theirs, what farm is there on my side of the map? In the case earlier, it was right here. It was potentially right here. There's options. You can do the old Hector TP where you TP to your tier 2 top and farm the Ancients.
Okay.
It looks like a really greedy TP, but it's actually setting you up to walk aggressively onto their side of the map. You know what I mean? So people view that TP incorrectly, I believe. I used to think it was a really noob TP until I realized, you know, there's a reason why that guy plays TI. So, So where do you want to end your minute? That's like biggest question. You know, and what we're seeing here is you're the strongest hero in the game. You have your Axe timing at 21 minutes, and you're farming your own Ancients. You know, this is just not acceptable. Strongest fucking hero in the game, up by 10k. You've hit your timing, and you're farming your own side of the map. Right? That's what we're trying to avoid happening in your 2k bracket, because that's how you're going to lose games. People say, why is my team randomly feeding? Well, I'm just trying to farm. And it's like, half the people that say that are the guy that's 4k net worth ahead of anybody else on his team and farming his own side of the map. You know, it happens. I understand. Like, people in chat know what I'm talking about. They're like, damn, BSJ, that's every fucking carry player I've ever fucking had. I'm a support. I do perfectly, and I feed all lane, but the guy just won't carry me. It's like, no, you probably suck just as much. That's why you're in this guy's game. So, do you have any final questions about
Well, I just got one question, which is completely unrelated to everything you've been saying. But basically, I've been hearing from some top-tier players that Axe on Medusa now is not really good, and you should just go Manta, Skadi, Butterfly, whatever is needed. And I generally agree, but I feel like in some cases, the Axe could be good, like if your team doesn't have too much CC, like stance. Like, obviously, we have Lion and Storm, but I feel like, I don't know, it's a good like bait item. Basically, you bait the enemy to go on you, then you axe them, snake them, you ult them, and just they're stunned for like 10 seconds or whatever. And your team
my friend. We're gonna wrap up the session with this answer because I think it'll help you a lot. Okay.
Okay.
There's 2 types of items as a carry. There's items that help your team / hurt the enemy team, and there's items that make you strong.
Right.
Now, what type of item is Ags?
Mostly the one that doesn't help me and instead helps the to win fights.
Okay, it helps your team or hurts the opponent, right? It's that category.
Yeah.
When the net worths look like this, what item do you think? What item description should you?
I want an aggressive item. I don't want a defensive item.
No. What I'm saying is there's 2 types of items. There's items that help your team / hurt the opponent team, or an item that makes you strong.
Right.
What item, when you see these net worths, do you want?
I don't know. I guess I want to...
Do you want an item that makes you strong, or do you want an item that makes your team
I'm
strong?
Better, but my Storm is not that much lower than me, so he's still...
I'm talking about your specific net worth in the game.
Well, I want something to make me strong, basically.
So the thing is, it's just like early on when we talked about region in order to stay in your lane. We talked about why did you want region in that case? And you said, I'm capable of defending this tower. So really when it comes to this decision of do I buy an item that is good for my team or good against the opponent team? Or do I buy an item for myself? The answer starts with, can I be the strongest hero in the game?
Right.
If you can, then you buy an item that makes you the strongest hero in the game. That is done by making your hero strong, not by making enemy heroes weaker or your teammates stronger. So if you're the second net worth on your team as a carry, say you have a Tinker mid and you had a rough start, you don't itemize items that make your hero strong. You itemize items that like help the team a little bit. Because you're not the strongest hero in the game. That's just how it is.
Sense.
If you're the strongest fucking hero in the game, then you buy an item that tells me you're the strongest fucking hero in the game. It's like on every hero that's different, but on Dusa, that's like Scotty, Butterfly, Daedalus, Satanic. It's like you're fucking strongest hero in the game. They can't kill you, right?
Right.
So I don't think Ags is like terrible. They definitely nerfed it. But like this item build tells me that, like, yeah, maybe you're farmed, but the net worths are pretty even. It's a pretty close game. You need to win fights. I feel like in the game right now, you're literally just the fucking strongest hero in the game. You can do whatever the fuck you wanted, and if you don't die, you win the game. That's what I'm thinking.
Basically, I had the mindset like at the start of the game, and I forgot to actually update it as the game progressed.
Yeah, when you're thinking of your next item as a carry, think to yourself, am I trying to be stronger myself, or am I trying to contribute to the team? And all that has to do with is this right over here. Like, just that mental gauge of, like, am I the strongest hero in this game? And if you are, make yourself the strongest hero. And it's like, once you think you have solidified the spot as the strongest hero in the game, that's when you can start even if you are the most powerful hero in the game, you can start looking to itemize against opponents as well.
Right.
Meaning, it's like, I'm anti-mage, I've got I've got Manta, Battle Fury, Scotty. I'm now like the strongest hero in the game. Oh, they also have an Ember. I'm going to buy a Basher. Right. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, now that I'm already the strongest hero in the game, I'm going to make myself kill them. The progression's usually farm fast item, survivability item, if possible, unkillable item.
Yeah.
And then kill them item. That's like, that's usually how it goes when you're the strongest hero in the game. And like that third one is the biggest option that either people do too often, meaning like they try to make themselves unkillable and they're just still killable. They'll go Lincolns and they'll still be able to be killed. And in that case, it's like a really bad way to play. Or they could go the unkillable route and they just don't. It's like, theoretically speaking, you're way more killable with an Ags than you are with a Scotty. You know what I mean? It's it's like, so if you have a Scotty and you're absolutely fucking unkillable, no item in the game is better. If you're highest net worth in the game, you're a farming hero and you can build an item that makes you absolutely unfucking killable, you're gonna win the game. Like, you're gonna win the game. So, that's my answer to your question. It's those two categories, and ideally you want the one that makes you unkillable. And if you don't think that's possible, then you'd go something like the Ags. Make your team a little bit stronger, add a little bit of disable. Because like, even if your team had very little stuns and you were the strongest hero in the game, don't inconvenience yourself for your teammates. Make yourself the fucking strongest hero in the game, and then inconvenience yourself for an Ags. You could literally go like 4th or 5th item Ags. That's like completely reasonable in those type of games. Any final questions, my man? I kind of said we're wrapping up.
Perfect.
Awesome, man. I know we didn't even get to your fucking second game. I think this is the most time I've spent analyzing one game, to be honest with you. I think all of it was pretty good, though. I don't think I bullshitted you at all here. So
the second game, we can probably do it next month. So
yeah, I can download it right now, just in case you still want me to do that game. But I imagine you may find something better between now and then.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
We'll see. I'll download it just in case. But just in case.
Probably play a bunch of other games.
Just in case. But could be like a new patch. Could be a bunch of different things.
Most likely there's going to be a patch as well. Okay.
Oh, let's not get our hopes up. But okay, man. Thanks for signing up, dude. It's been fun.
No problem. Thank you. You're fine. Yeah. Bye.